Hi, welcome to TV 95, It's Around Town. I'm your host, Trudy Terrell, and I'm here with my co-host, Carol Fairfield. And we are delighted to have a special guest from Sierra Roots, the president of Sierra Roots, Janice O'Brien. She is going to be sharing a lot about Sierra Roots with us, which is a organization dedicated to the homeless in Nevada County.
I had the good fortune of meeting Janice over 10 years ago when she was my neighbor when I lived in Nevada City. And I got to know her over tea one day, and our friendship grew as I learned more about her devotion to the homeless in Nevada City. Can you tell us a little bit about the mission of Sierra Roots, Janice?
Sierra Roots is a nonprofit organization devoted specifically to find land where we can build tiny houses to house the chronically homeless in Nevada City primarily and Grass Valley. They have no place to live, and there's a very serious ordinance in the city that they cannot camp anyplace. So there's actually no place for them at all. So that's what we want to do.
Tell me about a tiny house, Janice. What's a tiny house?
Tiny house, it's a micro house, you can call it whatever. It's about anywhere from 160 square feet to 260 square feet. They have a bed, they have a table and chair, they have a sink, they can have a couch. It's a wonderful little place, and it'll be, they can have a loft for storage or for sleeping. And it's insulated, and they're beautiful. I don't know if anybody has looked on
HGTV. They have
I've
a
seen
lot
them
of
there.
things
They're
about tiny
gorgeous.
houses. So there is running water in these.
Not necessarily.
No, but there's a compost.
Could be a compost toilet. We would have to decide how we're going to do that, but we're going to have a community center for them to have bathing and showers and laundry facilities and a kitchen. And classroom and offices and so forth. So
Very nice.
we're going to build that first, and then we'll start building the little houses.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, when I last talked to you, you were thinking about land for that. Has there been any movement forward on finding some land?
Well, there's movement forward in the sense that more and more people are coming forward with us to go to the county and go to the city and see what they can find for us. Because it has to be zoned correctly. Mm-hmm. And if there is no zoning for microhouses, so we have to get that zoned.
I've read that about them all over the country. There's problems with that.
Right. So that's what we're working on. But all over the country, it's right. More and more of these tiny house villages are cropping up and doing very well, actually.
Well, and not only for the homeless, I see on
Yeah.
HGTV
Yes.
that people want them so they won't be tied down to a big house.
Yeah, they can take them with them wherever they go.
Exactly.
And I know the consciousness of Nevada County. You just not only support Nevada County, but Grass Valley, and I'm sure you would cover Penn Valley and any area
Anybody
in
who
the
would
county.
come and want to live there, including elderly people. I have 4 elderly women who would love to have a little tiny house that they could pay a little bit of rent and help with gardening, help with cooking, help with cleaning, everything. So
It's like having a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they're really quite nice. It would be nice. And now, who would fund these, Janice? Where the funding for these units come from? Do you get any funding?
yes, we do. We have many supporters and funding, but we go for grants. I just wrote a big grant that I'd like to get, and I'll do another one in April. And so we go for grants with private foundations as well as the county and HUD, which is the housing,
And urban development, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we also have many wonderful people, supporters, who have money and want to see something like this happen once we get the land. So that's a big thing. And we just, we will do events, and we'll also do, what do they call it? Fundraising on the internet, like GoFundMe.
GoFundMe
Yeah, right.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, who are some of your typical clients that you have that are involved? Or are they not considered typical?
They're not typical.
Okay.
They're all different. Every one of them is different. These Sierra Roots works specifically with chronically homeless. Now, chronically homeless means they've been homeless for more than a year, consistently or episodically every Yeah.
Yeah.
So often they're homeless again. And many of them have been out in the woods, living out in the woods, hiding. They actually have to hide because they get moved out all the time. I have one veteran who's been out there for 45 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
And he's a survivor, and
Yeah.
he's a Vietnam veteran. He came home from Vietnam and just began to live out in the woods like that. So, and we have a number of veterans that we're working with also to get housing. But part of the problem with the chronically homeless is to get them housed into an apartment. For some of them, it's okay. For others, they can't stand to be in a
The four
Four
walls.
walls. They don't wanna
be
So
out.
used to being out in the
Yeah.
open.
Almost
yeah.
like the Aborigines in Australia. You know,
Yeah.
I did travel to Australia, and I have met with the Aborigines there, and it's the same thing. They need to be outdoors. They
Yeah.
need to be freer.
We've been to Australia
Yeah.
too, and you're right
Yeah.
that people are very
Yeah.
free with.
Right.
They just like nature and they like
Right.
living out in the.
Now, I have worked with you. I've had the good fortune of working
Yes,
with you
yes,
at the
you
cold
did.
weather
Yes.
shelter, and I know that, and I recently read an article about you that says, I am happiest when I'm working with these people. And I saw that in the shelter. You know each and every one of them. You know their name. You know all about them.
Right.
And they look to you as a friend.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
And it's a wonderful thing, and I got that feeling. And even one of the men, one of the nights I worked, he said, "It's so nice to have people here who are friends and are not judgmental."
Right.
So that kind of touched my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did you come on this mission in life?
Well, in 2001, my husband and I were retired. We'd just moved to Nevada City, and we're looking forward to retirement. And we got a call from our youngest son up in Tacoma, Washington, that CPS, Child Protective Services, were taking his children away. And they were 16 months, 3 and 5 years
Wow.
old. And they asked us if we would take the children for a short period of time while Mom and Dad both got into rehab. Mom was severely addicted to pain pills after a very serious car accident at age 15. She got hooked onto pain pills. And our son, Peter, was very addicted to alcohol. And he already had been in a couple of rehabs. So we thought, all right, we'll take the children for 6 months to maybe a year while Mom and Dad get into rehab. Well, we took the kids, and Mom and Dad followed them from Tacoma in that year in May. We had the children in February. They came back. They followed the kids in May, and never did get into rehab at that time. And had no jobs, no place to live. And they became homeless. So they were homeless out in the homeless camps. And that's when I began to look around for a shelter for them, because up in Tacoma there was a homeless shelter, but not around here. So I started talking to people, and a lot of the pastors of the churches. I said, we don't have a shelter for the homeless. So I got in touch with Utah Phillips and Joanna Robinson and Cindy Maple, and they were starting to talk about the same thing, wanting to put a shelter together. So I immediately, as soon as I found them, I connected with them and became vice president for Hospitality House for the next 6 years and helped get Hospitality House open. That was in 2004. We started 2005. We actually were able to open.
And that's when it was still in churches, right?
Yes,
That's
when
rotating
we were
church nights.
nomadic model, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was very successful. And my son and his wife both used Hospitality House for about a month. We opened in October. December 1st of that same year, 2005, my daughter-in-law went missing. And we couldn't find her. We didn't hear from her. And that was unusual because she usually called to talk to the kids. She and my son both loved the children very much, but were not able to take care of them. But they tried to keep in contact all the time. So when she didn't connect or call or anything, we knew she was missing. And we put it out that she was missing. Now, one of the things about the homeless people is they're kind of dispensable. Not much was done to find her. I have
Nobody
to
was
say
too
that.
worried, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
She's a homeless person. She could be off someplace else, the whole thing. So my son never got over that. He was constantly going downtown to see the homeless and talk to them and see what happened. And that's how I got to know the homeless in Nevada City. And they're wonderful people. But again, because they're homeless, they don't snitch on anybody, on each other. So nobody would say or work.
Did they ever find her?
They found her remains in 2009 up behind Manzanita Diggings, which was a homeless camp.
Her remains.
Yeah. And they had to come to the house and get a DNA test from
Yeah.
one of the kids. And
You still have the
tragic.
children with you?
we had
Jan?
the children. I still have the children.
Children
Yeah.
are still there. It's been a long year. How
They-
they're now.
6
There's-
months to a year is long.
Yeah,
They're
there's,
now
There's
teenagers.
16, 18, and 20
Oh,
now.
bless you for that,
Yeah,
Janice.
yeah.
You're
They're beautiful
special.
kids, too.
Yeah. Now, is there any special requirement when a homeless person comes to you if they still are addicted to some form of substance abuse or an alcoholic or
I
do
say
you not
I
let
work.
them-
I work with the dirty, drunk, and desperate.
dirty, drunk, and desperate?
Well, explain the difference
three Ds.
between Sierra Roots and like your cold weather shelter versus Hospitality House. There is a
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Well, Hospitality House is a zero tolerance, so they can't come in if they are inebriated in any way or using drugs, and they're breathalyzed.
They're breathalyzed on the way in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have security cameras, so it's pretty rigid, which is fine. And a lot of people can still go there.
Now, is Hospitality House affiliated now with Utah's Place, which
They
It
are the
is the
same. One
same.
and
it
the
is
same.
the same
Yeah.
place?
They
Okay.
call it
Yeah.
Some
Utah's
people
Place.
might not have known that.
Yeah.
And they don't allow animals at Hospitality
No,
House,
they
right?
don't
They
allow
can't. They
animals.
can't really
Right,
deal with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of the disabled people also can't use their steps, so they
Oh,
don't go either.
Yeah.
So the chronically homeless that we serve, the people that we serve, many of them have pets, animals, dogs primarily, but some of them have cats also. They're companion animals for them,
Yeah.
as well as protection.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Unconditional love.
yep, that's right. So they can't go into Hospitality House. And many of them have substance abuse and really have to have a beer early in the morning, some of them, to keep the demons away
Yeah.
or the shakes away. So our Sierra Roots, we take people as they are. We meet them where they're at. And of course, if they're severely drunk, I can talk to them, but I don't give them hugs.
Yeah.
And I tell
Okay,
them,
fine.
right, I tell them, look, no hugs today.
Yeah.
You're drunk. I don't want that.
Yeah.
But without judgment, and we build a trust with them, and that's
Yeah.
really important to begin with.
But
And
they have no place to stay. Where do they, are there?
It started out with my feeding them a sandwich, a salami sandwich, on Thursday at noon at the parking lot up in the Chinese parking lot in Nevada City. And I would get to meet them, talk with them, see what their situation is. And that's how it started. I just did that on my own. And then when one of our homeless fellows was froze to death in
Oh, yeah.
2010.
I remember that in the paper.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that just bothered me. And I had resigned from Hospitality House in 2010, June of 2010, because I saw where it was going. It was going into being an institutionalized, very rigid.
And there were too many restrictions.
Right.
So that's
for,
why you started
For a lot
Sierra
of
Roots?
people, it was good, but for the chronically homeless that I knew, they
Yeah.
would never be able to go there. So I decided to resign at that time, and didn't know what I was going to do, but did start to feed on Thursdays, and yeah. And it
Where did
grew
you feed them?
At the
The Chinese parking lot.
Yeah, the commercial street parking lot.
Now, I
at the
understand
top.
since the 4th of February, you now, tell us a little bit about Divine Spark and the stretch. I don't know if
Divine
I'm saying it
Spark,
right.
Striker.
Striker.
The Striker House. Divine Spark was started by Tomas Striker back in 2000,
Early 2000s.
Yeah. And what Tomas did was he was very available to the homeless, to the chronically homeless like we serve. Served food, helped them get cars, helped them get their legal stuff done. He was very...
Very involved, huh?
Yeah, very involved. And the homeless people loved him. They really did. He was killed in a car accident March of 2013.
Oh, dear.
And so it was passed over to Shirley Kinghorn, who is now the president and the CEO. And
Of Divine Spark.
of Divine Spark. And Divine Spark, most of what they do is they serve the homeless too, and it's no judgment type of thing also. They have lunches 3 times a week. Sunday morning they have a breakfast, a big breakfast, hot breakfast. And Monday and Wednesday they serve a nice hot lunch. And then we serve a hot lunch on Thursday.
Now, this is in the Stryker House, which was dedicated to that. That's what the...
They named it the Stryker House after Tomas Stryker.
Yes, and
Right.
then didn't they revamp the house to accommodate...
It was bought by Polly Halstead, who works with Divine Spark. She bought it and she renovated it and is leasing it to Divine Spark. And Divine Spark is subleasing it to us so that
Oh.
we can work
See?
there also.
Oh, so now how do you work with Divine Spark? I know you
We share clothes, food. We both go to the food banks and we share food, clothes, and contacts. You know, if somebody needs some, like I helped to get started alternative court, community
I wanted to
court.
ask you about that,
Yeah,
yes.
alternative community court for the fellows who have up to $4,000 in fines for little or nothing. I mean, every time they're incarcerated, taken to jail for smoking in the wrong place, camping
Yeah.
in the wrong place, having an open container,
Sleeping in the wrong
right,
place.
all of those things.
Yeah.
They're taken to jail and they're fined.
And there's a fine attached,
Right.
yeah.
And if they don't pay anything on that fine in, I forget, 3 months maybe, it's doubled.
Oh, my.
And if they don't pay anything on that, it's
Doubles
doubles
again.
Yeah.
So they have fines up to $4,000, $5,000, which is ridiculous because they have no money to pay it
And,
anyway.
yeah, it's not
Is
gonna
that
be
where
It's
paid.
never gonna
some
be.
of your funding is used, Janice? You said you do get some
We don't
funding with
pay
the
that.
grant?
Yeah, but we don't pay their
Well, how does
fines.
this
what-
court work? Maybe
The
that's...
court means that they get to come to court with me as their advocate, and I work with the public defender, Jody Schutz, and also the DA and the judges. Judge Tom Anderson was one that started this, and what we do is we bring them to court, we see what their fines are, and they can reduce it by community service.
Oh, okay,
And
that's
so with
good.
my oversight,
Mhm.
and I can sign it off when they do community service.
And
So
what
they-
kind of community service do they end up doing?
Well, they can do yard work for us. They can help paint the Stryker House. Some of them have been doing that. They can work when we have our lunches. They help
Serve lunch?
bring things in, take
Yeah.
things out, unpack, pack, and do anything that we want them to do.
Okay, so they coordinate with you, and then you assign them different tasks. And
Right.
Is it just within your facility that they're assigned tasks, or can they
Well, no,
work
we
in
have
other places?
we have a cleanup in Nevada City
Okay.
in the spring and also the fall, and they can paint curbs and they paint buildings and they wash sidewalks. They do all kinds
And
of things.
so can they do like the circle cleanup too
Mhm,
and that kind of,
mhm,
anything, any
mhm.
community service?
Well,
would
again,
count.
Janet, is it just restricted to Nevada City, or can
No,
they do
it can
things
be
in
done
Grass Valley
they can
and
do
Penn
things in
Valley?
Grass Valley, too.
Okay, so we
Mhm.
want to make sure we cover the whole Nevada County.
Yeah.
So
Right,
when
okay.
they are in this alternative court,
Mhm.
do things get dismissed or what
Yes,
what else
much
happens?
of it gets dismissed, and their fines are taken care of by community service. Yeah.
But in
And
the
some of-
meantime, the only thing good about that is they're in the jail where they're probably fed and warm.
Well, they're
Well, some of them go
they're
to
not-
jail, yeah.
They're not all in jail at this
No.
point. No,
Oh,
you
okay.
because
They just have citations and fines.
that
Okay.
follow them around and make life miserable
Right.
for them.
Yeah.
So
Well, I know there's a lot of public health and safety issues dealing with the homeless. Can you touch on that a little bit, Janet?
Well, if the county would only realize and the city would realize that having up to 70, we think probably about 70 just in Nevada City who are homeless, living in the woods and so forth. It's a city hazard because for health purposes. I mean, down in LA, they had a TB epidemic because of the homeless, not getting TB shots, not being taken care of. Our people who are out there in the cold and out in the wet, the other thing is it's not just when it's cold, it's when it's been raining for 3 or 4 days and they're soaking wet.
And there's no way to dry anything.
No,
And easy to catch it.
Yeah, well, they get bronchitis, they get scabies, they get just all kinds of, and then in the summer it's mosquitoes and all that kind of thing. Snake bites, bears, I mean, unbelievable.
I understand that the
through.
Siemens Lodge, the Nevada City Council just allowed you to bypass the particular rules for whatever the criteria was for.
Well, no, I had to go by the criteria. The criteria is national. It's
Okay.
Red Cross criteria.
Okay.
And Salvation Army uses that. And the criteria is it has to be 38 degrees and wet, or 32 degrees and wet, or 28 degrees and dry. Now, that's really cold.
Yeah.
Very cold.
And,
yes.
and when they're wet, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it can be cold at 50 and when they're
Well,
wet.
that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to work with the city about. I want to be able to open a inclement weather shelter, not just cold weather shelter. But if it's been raining for 3 or 4 days, they need to get out and get dry and get into a safe place.
Yeah. I want to tell our listeners a bit about my visit at the cold weather shelter. Janice, of course, needed volunteers, and I volunteered at the shelter this winter at Siemens Lodge. And she has sleeping bags that were donated. People came in. There's food available. And the first night, this was the first few nights it was approved, right? And
Right.
the city officials stopped by to check. The chief of police stopped by and brought pies. It was a wonderful experience. And people brought their dogs in. And the second time I was there, I think there was 6 dogs there. The dogs were very well behaved. There were no issues. The people were, well behaved and very glad. It was very cold at that time. They were very glad to have a shelter, and they kept coming in till late. And you went off to the hospital with one of the clients that night because he had a medical emergency.
Right.
So she's equipped to take care of most everything.
Are there special hours that you're open or
Well,
operate, or are you open all the time?
In Nevada City, we're able to open at 4 p.m., whereas Salvation Army doesn't and can't open until 6, so we can open a little earlier. And then they have to be out by 7:30 in the morning, and it's still very cold. I
Yeah.
hate to send them out there, but they do. They bundle up, and they're just so happy to have had a night's sleep in the warmth and with good food. So.
How do people volunteer for your organization?
Go on our website, sierraroots.org, and there's a place where you can volunteer and put your name in. And also, you can always call me. I have my phone number. I can give it out right now. It's 265-5403. I do have teenagers, and they are trained to answer the phone for me.
Wow.
And
Go figure that.
yeah, and
That's better than my husband, I think.
they are pretty good about getting the right messages.
That's
to me,
good.
How
so.
many volunteers do you have with Sierra Roots now? And tell us a bit about your council or board.
Okay, well, yeah, it's a board. We call it a council because it's a circle like the Native Americans used to have. And we listen to everybody's voice, and we work with consensus, which means we talk everything, all the concerns, all the problems out before we make a big decision together. So it's not a top-down
You're
kind
not
of-
the CEO
Yeah, not one
making the rules,
person
huh?
making all the rules.
I might be the one talking here, but believe me, if I say anything that they don't want me to do, they let me know. But, yeah, so we have 6 people on our council right now on our board.
Are they all volunteers, or are
They're
they
all
are they
volunteers.
paid? Anybody?
No, nobody's
Nobody's
paid. We're an
paid.
all-volunteer organization. Now, we pay consultants when we need somebody, like when we put our website together, we have somebody that comes and does that
That's-
for us, yeah.
Technical things.
And I think we have probably a good 30 volunteers, probably more than that now. But we have volunteers primarily to help us serve our lunches on Thursdays, and we also have sack lunches on Friday. Thursday we have a very nice hot lunch with the main dish and a vegetarian dish and veggies and salads and desserts. We have a dessert.
Sounds yummy.
It is.
Now, that
Very
is
good.
served in the Chinese parking lot?
No, that's in the Stryker House now.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Stryker
since
House.
the
And
4th
where
of
is that
February.
located?
It's on 606 Gold Flat Road,
Okay.
It's in Nevada City.
Nevada City.
Yeah.
And do the clients have a hard time getting there? Do they
Some
walk?
of them do. Some of them do. Those that are disabled and have a hard time walking. It's about 1.5 miles from downtown. And if their camps are 1.5 miles
The other way?
the other way,
Yeah.
to get to the launches. But some of them have vans and cars, and they help each other. And I pick them up if they need help, too.
Do you have certain people assigned, like to take them to the hospital, or if they don't have a vehicle, to get them to doctor appointments
I
and
do.
things like that?
I do. I have people who are what we call our transportation people.
Okay.
So if the problem with the transportation people is because they're out in the woods to connect with them,
Hard to pick them
Yeah.
up or know where
to find them. And many of them don't have phones. Some of them do, but many of them don't. Or if they do, they've lost it, or it's been stolen, or the minutes
Yeah.
are out, and that kind of thing.
difficult.
It's very difficult. So we
How-
try our best to
How
get
are their
them.
medical needs taken care of? Do the hospitals around here support caring for the homeless, or?
The hospitals
Okay.
have a hard time with them, and I understand it, but they usually go to ER, and it's amazing how many ER visits are taken up by our homeless.
Really?
That's the
Wow.
first place they go. They don't know where else to go. I try to get them to get a primary physician, to go to the clinic, Western Sierra Medical Clinic. It's a walk-in clinic.
Oh, and that's the one down by the Safeway
Yeah,
Brunswick
yeah,
area.
yeah.
Okay, the new one. yeah.
Right, exactly. And they do get in there, but when they go to the ER, a lot of times they don't get served. They're
Yeah.
told, no, you're not that serious. And I do understand that, because they go in, they have a sore shoulder, or they have, mosquito bites or something like that. But they don't know where else to go except emergency. Well, it's
Yeah.
not an emergency, so then they just get sent out. However, when I took them, if I take them as an advocate and I talk to them, they'll serve them.
Yeah.
They'll help them a little better. So
So do they have a relatively easy time getting served at Western Medical Clinic?
pretty good. They don't they don't like it as much because they're usually through the clinic. They're usually sent to physicians. What do they call assistants?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
PAs.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
They want to see a doctor.
Oh, well,
They
PAs
don't-
are very good,
I
but they
know.
don't understand
They
the
don't
pecking
understand
order.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to see a real doctor.
Okay,
That's-
well, I see a PA often, and I'm happy with that.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, most of us are, and most of us understand that. But I have to say, these people who have been out of society for so long don't understand all of that.
Right.
And they really want to be cared for.
Well, I'm sure they'd like a little TLC, and
Yes,
of course, you're their main provider of TLC, I think, and Sierra Roots
Yeah,
and the other
yeah,
community
yeah,
services.
How many volunteers do you currently have?
As I said, I think
30?
at least 30, probably more than that. I don't know. I
If
haven't
someone
counted.
wanted to volunteer, how would they call the 273-274-5713 number?
Yes,
Who would
they
they-
can call that. They can call me. They can, anybody they know, like Carol, she can get in touch with me.
Direct,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we say is we're looking for advocates, volunteers, and donors. So we
Okay.
need money. We need advocates to speak up for us, to be supportive of what we're trying to do. I go before the city council. I go before the county of supervisors, county supervisors. I show up and speak up wherever I can.
Do
And
you
I
have to
knock
be
on every
trained?
door.
Do you have to be trained to be a volunteer? Do you?
I
have
like to
some-
train you, yes.
Okay.
Especially for specific things. Like an advocate like I am, I want to train a whole 20 people to be advocates for these people, to be able to take them to the doctor, take them to the lawyer, take them wherever they need to
I
go.
would like to
and
do that.
Follow
Yeah.
through with them. Good, I'll train you. And then transportation also, and then just learn how they live, learn what their language is so that you can speak to them on their level, not
Yeah.
coming
And not be judgmental.
right.
Yeah.
And not coming from this patriarchal idea of I know what you should do and I know where you should go
Yeah.
and I want you to get a job
know
and
the
I want you to
answers,
do
yeah.
right.
I know when we had the homeless, we fed the homeless in our church
Right.
community. It was just wonderful and heartwarming to sit down, not only serve them the meal,
Right, but sit
prepare
down
it,
and
and
eat.
but sit down with them and hear their stories
right,
and
right.
some of the amazing things and sad things that they
Yeah,
went
yeah,
through.
yeah.
But it is a community involvement.
Right.
People don't realize that
Right.
it doesn't just take people like the volunteers in your organization or Carol or myself for that matter. It takes the whole community, and I think that's probably your goal is to get that village set up so
Right.
they can be self-sustaining and
Right.
prepared.
And
to have-
self-governing.
Yeah.
You know, this is another thing that I'm doing right now is bringing a group of the homeless individuals who work. We've built a trust with them, and they know us. We know them by name and story, and you know, some of them are, well, it's like your family. I
Yeah.
mean, some people you can get along with really well, and others like, okay.
And some are high performers and some
Right,
aren't.
yeah,
all of that,
exactly.
yeah.
So
And-
we get to know them.
And I think it's, if more volunteers would, could and would work in these capacities, I think it would help dispel some of the, I'll call it prejudice against the
Right,
homeless. Because I have friends who say, well, they can just get a job.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
that
that
simple.
easy,
And I
yeah.
personally have a pretty good resume, and it took me 6 months to get a job once. So I can't even imagine with no home, no phone,
Yeah.
no.
Can't clean up.
You can't
no
go to an
jo-
interview.
No showers.
Getting a job
barber.
is like
Yeah.
flying to the moon almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
Well,
how
they give
about
up.
if people had things that they wanted to, like coats or clothing that they wanted to donate? Where would they bring that, Janice?
Well, they can bring it to my house, but please don't. I have so much. My garage is full, and we have a storage unit that's full. We have plenty of clothes.
So you don't need any more clothes.
Money is more portable, isn't it?
Money is more, and tents. We need tents and tarps and lanterns
Oh, and
and
camping.
little flashlights, not
Oh,
big, huge
okay.
ones, but little
Yeah.
flashlights. Transistor radio, so they can hear the weather report and they can
Oh,
hear
okay.
what's going on. Things like that. Little lanterns. You know, they live out in the woods, so
Okay,
any
so
kind of
where,
camping
again,
equipment.
you don't want the clothing at your house, but would they bring it, do you have an office for Sierra Roots, or,
It's
or-
my house.
Your house is the office?
yeah.
Okay.
So you'd probably rather have money so you can buy these things
Yes,
as needed
money.
and not have
Money
to store
or,
them.
yeah,
Yes.
or gift cards, you know.
Well, I know
yeah.
my husband and I, with our children, used to do a lot of camping. We don't do that anymore, and our two grandsons, well, some of our grandsons are Eagle Scouts, but they're not doing that anymore, so they have some wonderful
Well, that'd be
camping
good.
equipment.
Bring it to me.
Okay.
Because I'm
Can you use that all year or more just in the summer or anytime?
All
this-
year.
All
anytime
year
this
round, they're
Yeah.
outside all the time.
Yeah,
in
and
the
I
elements.
one of them just got out of jail this morning, and he's been in jail for a couple of months, and he needs a sleeping bag and a tarp and some clean clothes. When he went in, he was soaking wet, so it was
Yeah.
all mildewy and that kind of thing. So I looked for him. They let them out of jail at 4:30 in the morning, which I
Oh.
think is ridiculous.
I'm still
there's-
sleeping then.
Yeah, there's no place for them to go.
Yeah.
And
You don't think
so
about
I
that.
said to him, I'll look for you at 7. I'll get up and come down at 7. I couldn't find him, so when I go back, I'll look again. But
That was just
they
today?
hide, yeah, they hide. So I'll find him and give him a
How do you
sleeping
find
bag.
them? What are your secrets to
Well,
finding them?
there's certain spots.
Word of mouth?
Yeah,
Oh.
there's certain spots that they kind of hang out.
Because they
Yeah.
know they're successful spots that work
Yeah,
at least
yeah,
for a while,
yeah,
I suppose.
yeah,
Huh?
Yeah.
Let's see. Now, so you don't really have office hours. Are you still serving the sandwiches and the
Yes.
bag lunches?
Yes.
That's still happening.
On Friday at 11:30 at the,
Stryker House.
no.
No?
Friday is the
Oh.
bag lunches at the parking lot up
Oh.
at the top of, what is that street?
Okay. Commercial, you said?
Commercial Street.
Commercial, oh, up at the
Okay,
top,
yeah.
okay. That's almost
It's
as
the
a.
Chinese, it's where the bathrooms are up there.
Oh, I
and
know,
the
right,
Chinese-
that
Oh,
parking lot, the
yeah.
Nevada
Okay.
City public parking
Right,
lot.
right.
Okay, right there. And do you need people to volunteer to serve that, or to bring food, or to pay for food? What do you need for that?
To pay for food would be great. And I have to tell a little story. Can I tell you
please
a
Oh,
do.
story?
sure. We like stories. This is story time.
2 Fridays ago, one of my board members has taken on serving the sack lunches every Friday as his gift, and he does it. But 2 Fridays ago, he called me, and he couldn't do it. He had a big situation at home. He couldn't get it done. So I said, no problem. So what I do is go over to Little Caesars Pizza. Is that it, Little
Yeah.
Caesars? $5
Pizzas,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
pizzas.
Pizza.
Right,
Yeah.
big $5 pizzas. So I bought 4 big pizzas for $20, you know,
Oh,
$5 each. Took them to the parking lot, opened my trunk up and opened the boxes up, and they were like, oh, pizza,
Oh.
pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with pizza.
And there was one man, I'd never met him before, I don't even know what his name was. Anyway, the rain was kind of spitting, it wasn't really raining real hard, and he was kind of dancing in the rain with the raindrops. And he came dancing up to me and he said, "Are you in the realm of Jesus?" And I said, "He's my boss." And he goes, "Hallelujah!" And he kept dancing around and dancing.
Oh.
And then he looked and he said, "And you even brought pizza." Well, it just touched my heart. So.
Yeah, I imagine there are just moments of,
Oh, there are.
joy
there
like
are.
that.
I just love doing this work.
and hopefully the joyful moments are overcome by the sad moments.
Well, there
And it
are
takes-
sad moments and
Yeah.
hard,
And the trying moments.
yeah,
yes.
very hard moments.
But
yeah.
what gives you the stamina and the courage to continue on with this after so many years? It has to be an inner strength that comes
It
from.
is. It's a
Yeah.
calling. It's
Yeah.
a calling. I must do it. I
Well,
must do it.
Bless you for what you do.
Well, thank you. I enjoy doing it. It gives me life.
Mhm.
It gives me purpose. It gives me wonderful satisfaction. I mean, I go home almost every night with a story.
Oh, how nice.
And Jim, my husband, is so supportive. So yeah, it's a wonderful calling. I have no problem knowing what I have to do every day.
Yeah, well, that's great.
And when you go home, you know you didn't just push papers around
No.
somewhere. So, and the community appreciates
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, thank you, Janice, for sharing your stories with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Any more fun
Any
stories?
other
or-
questions? I have
no,
more
we
fun.
will just have our editors put the phone number and donation information on our screen so that any of you who feel inclined to make a donation to Sierra Roots can go ahead and do that.
Yes.
Much
We're
appreciated.
always looking, I'll tell you what, we're always looking for some donation monthly. You know how that they talk
Oh, you mean
about-
like on your credit card every month?
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
that's regular.
Right,
a
$10,
recurring-
$20, $50, because we spend about $1,000 a month, and I thought, if we could get $1,000 coming in every month, that would be great.
What are some of the
So-
things you spend that $1,000 on?
Food,
Food and that's,
not so much food though, but travel expenses like gas and rehabilitation expenses. Like I send good books to the jail when they're in jail.
oh, okay.
Or I put money on their books because in the jail they get nothing, including a decent pillow and a decent cover. So with the books on their books, money on their books, they can get a cup of coffee or a bowl of soup extra, so I do
Yeah.
that. And then sometimes I have to pay for a motel for them because they come out of the hospital and have no place to go. They can't sleep on the ground when
Yeah.
they're
So it
recovering.
sounds like
Yeah,
the primary needs of Sierra Roots are financial and volunteer.
Right, that's right.
So, and if they wanted to bring things, donate
Yeah,
things,
they can
camping.
bring it to me.
And do we give out your address or?
Just
Oh.
my phone number.
Okay,
yeah,
just
don't
your
give
phone
out.
number.
265-5403.
Okay.
And then sierraroots.org is our website, and on there you can donate
Okay.
through PayPal.
Right there on the
Yep,
website.
yep.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. This has been very informative, and I hope the folks out there will have a better understanding of what some of these well, I can't say wonderful, but some of these homeless people have gone.
They're wonderful.
They are wonderful.
Okay, then I will say.
And they have a lot of difficult life issues
Yes,
to deal
they do.
with.
Yes. So, anyways, I thank you for your time, and I hope it's helped to stir someone to either donate or volunteer.
Yes, please, come work with us, because we're looking for land, and once we get that land and build that village, it's going to be wonderful, so.
Well, it's been a gift that I've become your friend
That's
and know
great.
about your cause.
Yes.
So I'm glad to be able to have you as a guest today.
Thank you.
Talk about some other events that are happening around town. There's so many wonderful things happening with within the community. The Welcome Home Vets are committed to continuing on with helping our veterans, and they're coordinating with KVMR and the Union newspaper. They're going to have 2 town hall forums on veterans issues that will be held in March. The date has not yet been chosen, so it will be at the Nevada Theater. And partnering, again, with the Union newspaper, there will be announcements in there. The moderator for this event from KVMR is Paul Emery, and there will be a panel of 4 people that will be talking about the issues on hand. They will focus on solutions, and it's a great opportunity to learn more about what Welcome Home Vets does. They've also had a lot of experience, and they've distributed probably 12 quilts, and they plan an event, another event about doing quilts in April. Hanson Brothers is putting on a giant Welcome Homes Vets logo on 2 of their new delivery vehicles. Yippee for that. So there's a lot of things going on there. And then another event is the Cinderella Project. The Cinderella Project is a wonderful thing for all the teens in our community that might not be able to go to their proms or certain events. They are collecting gowns. Not just gowns, but jewelry and you can donate money so that the girls can have their hair done and the guys can get tuxes. So, we just don't want anyone to be without enjoying the fun of a senior prom or the events that go on. And they do have a parade in Nevada City where they have an old Volkswagen that's made into a pumpkin. So the Cinderella Project is a wonderful project, and there'll be more information on this website later on. Okay, Carol, you have a couple things?
Yes, what would Cinderella be without her prince?
This is true. and really, the Cinderella Project is mostly about grandparents or anybody that they call, that can help to make sure that the kids get properly attired and fixed up so that they are comfortable with their, and some of it is kept confidential, so you don't know who might have been involved with the Cinderella Project. It's a wonderful gift to our teens in our community.
Everybody wants them to have that special prom night.
Yes, that's true.
I'd like to mention a few other community events that are coming up here in March. Probably a very momentous one that's an event at Lake Tahoe is the lake has now reached 11 inches within 11 inches of the natural rim. So yay El Nino. We're happy to hear that. And keep those clouds coming. Some other March events in and around town are the Cripple of Inishmaan at the Nevada Theater. Check the theater website for dates and prices. Another event is Gilbert and Sullivan's The Pirates of Penzance, which is put on by Foothill Theater.
Yeah.
Right. So you can also look the details up on that. On March 14th, we have a Russian pianist coming with Music in the Mountains.
And we're not going to try to pronounce his name. Just know he's a Russian pianist.
Yes, Nikolai Lugansky.
Oh, you
I'm
did it.
trying.
All right.
I don't know whether he'll want to kill me for that. But and the other, there's a Chamber Favorites on March 20th. So that's another, we have lots of wonderful musical events in this area. That's put on by In Concert Sierra. 2 other things that are not events, but they're in town to think about doing is to try the new Golden Era Bar in Nevada City And Polly's Polydar, which is also in Nevada City. It's special, it's a supper club with special events, so you'd have to look that up on the website.
Okay, the Grass Valley Downtown Association and Sierra Vineyards are having a celebration. It continues to grow in popularity every year. There'll be sample chef specialties and delicate sweets from some of the area's finest restaurants and confectionaries. And you can sip from some fine wines from over 50 foothill wineries, and you can enjoy fine art, listen to great music, and that is going to be on March the 7th, on Saturday, March the 7th from 1 to 4 p.m. You can purchase tickets by going to www.sierrainterns.com and get specific details. And there are specials for the wine club members. The Miners Fondery on March the 5th from 6 to 11 o'clock. You can transport yourself back to the chic 1960s cocktail party in New York City. Ladies, you can dig out that amazing vintage party dress, and the gentlemen can grab your fedoras and some dapper duds for this year's Mad About the Arts presentation. It's their 18th annual. So that should be fun. It's March 5th from 6 to 11 o'clock, and you can get more details by going to their website. There is an open call for Nevada City Psychic Fair, which is kind of fun. The Miners Fondery is pleased to present the 27th Annual Nevada City Psychic Fair, April 9th and 10th. I know that's a little bit down the way, but we do want to make sure applications for vendors get in by March 18th. So that's about all I've got for right now, Carol. Do you have anything else, dear?
No, I don't think so. There's a lot going on, as there always is in this wonderful area where we live. It's never boring, and go out and have a good time.
Yeah, welcome again to our TV show. And until next time, adios. We'll see you on the next show. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Bye.
Bye.